Get ready for this one, because it's a doozy. I wanted to create a pop piece with gummy bears, and didn't really take into account the fact that I would have to make 12 identical gummy bears. So, bear in mind, they're not identical. Here you've been watching me cut up a piece of graph paper to the correct size so that I can try to get all the squares the same size. Spoiler alert, they're not. But that didn't stop me from trying. Now I've got my marks on the canvas and I'm using my small cutting mat to get the squared off lines as straight as possible. Coming in with my painter's tape to mark off the lines so that I can try to get them as crisp as possible. I did them completely randomly and kept track of how many coats I had to do of each color. For pink, it was 3 total coats on each square. And the orange was a little thinner, so that one took 4 coats for each square. Looks like I went in with some yellow next, and that one took only 2 coats per square. And feel free to ignore the red square because I actually ended up changing my mind on the colors at one point. Just going in, adding those multiple coats to make sure it's nice and defined. I absolutely love this shade of green. It is so bright and deep at the same time, and it's semi-thick, so it only took 3 coats to cover. I did the color blocks this way so that I could work on multiple at once while still taping them off, and then I did matte top coats in between each layer to make sure that I didn't peel up the paint from the previous one when I applied tape to the blocks to continue. Here I'm just brushing on a small matte top coat because I messed up and had to fix something and didn't want to wait for it all to dry. Very carefully and precisely plotting out my next 4 color blocks, adding in a yellow with 2 more coats, a blue with also only 2 coats, and coming back in with that orange for another 4 coats. And while I'm fixing some of these spills with my fine line brush, this is also the last time you're going to see that red square. Because now it's green. And I did these last squares before doing a top coat, which is why I had to cut the tape so precise right there. Otherwise, it probably would have peeled up my green and revealed that red again. 3 coats of purple and a matte top coat to seal everything in before I start with the gummy bears. Very unprofessionally, I cannot find the footage of me actually tracing the gummy bears from the iPad and transferring them to the canvas with my ball stylus. But if you've seen my other videos, then you'll know this is my new method for trying to get the outlines as precise and even as possible. And with a piece like this, where there are 12 supposedly identical bears on it, that was a very important piece. 12 bears times 3 coats of paint per bear equals whatever that equals. I'm an artist, not a mathematician. But that's how many coats of white I did. Using the same colors as the backgrounds, I plotted out what color bear went on what color square and got started. Clearly it took a lot of thought and planning. think at one point I realized I had too many colors for the amount of blocks that I had, and it wasn't going to be even, which is why I changed the red square to green, and a little bit later I'm going to change the pink bear that's in the blue square to purple. That way there's 2 squares of each color and 2 bears of each color, because it's got to be even. This process took a while. These bears are very small and detailed, and trying to keep them all roughly the same shape was tricky. But the orange bears get 3 coats, and the yellow bears get 4. Slowing it down to real time for a minute, just to show you how long each bear takes. I'm just kidding, I'm not going to do that to you. These took forever. Here you get to watch a little bit of the thought process of me deciding to change 2 of the bears to purple. Like I said, I realized I had too many colors going on the canvas, and I wanted to cut it down a little. Make them all even, make them all the same. The purple covered pretty decently because it was thick, and the colors I put it over were fairly light, the light pink and the light yellow, so it's a little off, but a couple coats and it was good. 3 coats to be exact. To finish off the background colors, the blue and green both got 3 coats as well. Transferring the details took about 1.5 minutes, but I cut it down to about 8 seconds, so you're welcome. And I mean 1.5 minutes times 12, mind you. Ooh, I got a fancy transition there, and now all the bears have their details outlined. Be thankful that I didn't put all of that on camera, because it took so long. The last major step is to do a darker version of each color for the details on each bear. Has anyone figured out what 3 coats times 12 bears is? Because I still haven't. When it came to the dark outlines, I think I did 2 coats of each color. Right here, we're finishing up the blue bears. Then we have the pink, the yellow, green, orange, and purple. Last step is the signature. As you can see from these final videos, not all the bears are exactly the same, but if you don't look too closely, you can't really tell. Disclaimer, obviously I did not invent gummy bears or the pop art style, I just wanted to paint this. And it will also be available in my Etsy shop, LokisCanvas.